No age limit to move to Canada. Even if you're in your 30s or above 30, you don't need to get confused about the process. Even if you've tried the study route and it's not working out for you, there's surely another way for you to immigrate to Canada with your family. Get the right answers to all your questions. You do not need an agent to do anything for you. All the steps you need to take will be discussed in this video.
Hi, thank you for honoring the invitation sent to you. All right, so kindly introduce yourself.
Hi, Manuela. Thank you for having me here. My name is Greta, and I am a Nigerian currently living in Alberta, Canada, as a permanent resident. I recently moved here, and it's been good here so far.
So when exactly did you move to Canada?
I moved to Canada in November of 2023, mid-November 2023.
So, how did you approach the steps with regards to navigating Canada? Because a lot of people find it quite difficult and they have to use agents who would take all their monies and not, help them through the process.
Oh, great question. Okay, so I actually started the process in 2018, 2019. And of course, the initial thing you need to do first, like I've always tell people, is make substantive research, like really make research about what you want to do because it's a DIY process. It's something you can do yourself. I did it myself. I never sought any agent from the very first time I started, as at that time, it had become popular because when they started, it wasn't really widely known. And then it had become popular, and the competition was now fierce. The scores were now high. It's like they rank you in it's a ranking system where you have things you do and you build a profile, you be in the pool, and when if they want to make a draw, they draw people out, like they just select a number of people to send an application. So the scores had gone up very high as at that time. All I needed to do was just to take my IELTS general test, evaluate my certificate to be sure that it's up to the Canadian standard, and then create a profile, which was what I did. Then I had to wait, and also while waiting, I was looking at ways to improve my score. I remember the first time I got into the pool, I had a score of 440 something, thereabouts, and the score range that they were drawing was already in the 470s, dancing to the 460s. Um, then I was looking at ways to improve my scores. The scores kept going up. What I did was I decided to learn French in 2020, and then COVID struck. Things were just on a standstill, and life continued like as we know knew it to be then. I still continued in my French classes. Then after about I think 2 years, it took them 2 years for them to start the process all over again. But it's not like they stopped completely. They were just doing for people that were already within Canada, just to limit traveling. Then in the matter in those 2 years, I stopped French and continued. Stopped the French learning and continued. I was also looking at I was also applying to scholarships because even before I started the Canadian journey, I was already applying to scholarships. And when in 2022 they wanted to start all over again, I had to go back to my French classes, my French learning. And by 2023, I was almost at the like at a high level of my French. Then late 2023, I took the not late 2022, sorry, I took the French test about 3 times, and it costs more than the IELTS test. On the third trial, I got a score. So I wouldn't say fail or pass. It's not fail or pass. It's just to measure what level you are at, just like the IELTS test. So I got the score I wanted, which is like a B2, and then I added it to my profile. At this stage, the scores had gone up to 500 and something because COVID made it worse. At post pandemic, everything had just changed. The system had changed. It was now really fierce. If I thought it was fierce at the beginning of 2020, 2019, it was now really fierce, extremely. So I still didn't get up to 500. However, by this time they had started streamlining occupations and applicants based on certain criteria like healthcare, French, tech, um, trade, agriculture. My score had now gone up to 480, and I now qualified for the healthcare draw and also the French draw because I had become a bilingual at this stage. So in July of 2023. My test result came out, I think May. Yeah, May. But I had to apply for a remark, and the remark was considered. It came out positive. Then by July, just July 4th, the remark feedback came back, and by July 6th, I added the score to my profile. Then 2 days later, a draw was made, and I got a invitation to apply. I sent him my application, and by September, my application had been concluded. I had been, my passport had been requested for, and as it goes, that was how everything just went. And now I'm in Canada.
With regards to your French learning, was it that you studied French at the university or you started as a beginner?
I didn't study French at the university. In fact, in secondary school, I was running away from French, but I started as a beginner in January of 2022.
So how long did it take you? How many hours of French before you were able to write the French exam to be qualified, of course?
I would usually tell people to dedicate a year, if not more than. For me, I would say it took me about 2 years because I kept going on and off. But I have people that did it for a year, like dedicated a whole year and few months before they took the exam. So if I had not stopped, maybe if I had not paused and come back, I would have said maybe it would have taken me about a year before I would have completed 2 years that. So I would say give it a year and some months. When you're ready, you would know, unless you want to lie to yourself. But when you're ready, you would really know when you're ready to take the test.
Okay, can you please explain what type of visa did you apply?
Okay, so it's called the Express Entry program, and I automatically became a permanent resident. So what, like I said at the beginning of this session, is it's the Express Entry program is a ranking system where applicants who want to come to Canada, um, they create profiles through the Canadian system. They have a system, and then they go there, the IRCC, which is the immigration body in charge of this immigration process, go there to regularly do draws, pick people to apply, and then they send in their application. So previously it used to be about bi-weekly draws, but now they just do it as it comes. Like you just wake up and you hear that, okay, a draw has been done. So the things you need to do first, you need to simulate your score. There's a link where you'd go simulate your score to see, okay, let me give them my information. Let me simulate my information and see where I stand if I want to start this process. Now, for you to create a profile, all you need to do is you must have had 1 year of work experience, which is the minimum. The maximum is 3 years. 3 years gives you more points because we are ranked. You have so many things that we are ranked against. You'll be ranked against your level of education. So if you're a PhD student, you get more points. A master's student gets more points than someone that just have 2 degrees. And someone that has 2 degrees also have more points than someone that just have a BSc. You're also ranked against your language abilities. You will be required to take the IELTS test. And if you're bilingual, you can take the French test to give you more points, which is really a big deal. Now, you also need to have your proof of fund. But the most important things you need to have for you to be able to create a profile would be your IELTS general with a high score to get good points. And then you will need to evaluate your certificates, your education credentials. You just go to the site, the IRCC website, all the information is there. You start an application, you create a profile, and once it's done, they tell you what your score is. And of course, you already have an idea of what the recent scores currently are. Then you rank your score against that one. But like I said earlier, these days it's really competitive. But for people who have particular occupations like the healthcare, they're really having a good time now. The French, if you have French abilities, if you're in the STEM, if you are in any trade that they consider, if you're in the agri sector with an occupation that they consider, if you're in the transport section with an occupation that they consider, yes, they do. They call them category based draw. So they can go and pick these people with low scores. But the general draw is still there, but the scores are now very high, up until 520, 530.
Okay, according to what you said, this pathway, which you called the category-based draw, some people have issues with applying to Canada because of their age, especially for people who are already past the age of 30. Or is it a pathway that you can advise them to actually try out?
Of course. Emanuela, I was in my 30s when I did this.
Okay,
So I
okay,
don't see even people that are in their 40s. I know people that are in their 40s that have
try.
had to learn French because, of course, when the more you, because it favors, let me just go back a bit. They also rank you according to your age. So if you're less than 30, you get the maximum points. But by the time you clock 30, you start losing points. So you clock 30, you lose 5 points. You clock 31, you lose 5 points. You clock 32, you lose another 5 points. It just keeps going like that. And that was one of the reasons I had to learn French, because I knew that, okay, I didn't know when the COVID thing would be out. I didn't know how the draws would go like. And I knew that even if I go take another degree, I would still be losing age. But then it was already known that French was going to be a big thing. They were going to go for bilingual people no matter your age. So that was why I went to learn French. So if you're in your early 30s, mid 30s, it's still a good thing, especially if you're in the healthcare sector. The last healthcare draw they did, it was 422. And trust me, Manuela, that was a very good score. So if you're in the healthcare sector, for yeah, you're even if you're maybe going to your late 30s, and they also evaluate medical degrees. If you're a medical doctor, if you're a medical
Okay.
doctor, your profession is like you get more
Highly in
points for it.
demand.
So it's something that's doable. Like I said earlier, all you have to do is to ensure that you simulate your score and weigh your options against what is currently going on to see where you stand and to know the extra work you have to put in just to get an advantage and to get invitation to apply early enough.
Okay, but when you say simulating of your score, what do you mean?
A very good question. What I mean is there is a link that
Okay,
asks you the same questions that you would be asked if you were creating a profile.
okay,
But
next
all
person
you
trip
need is just
profile.
to put in all those details and they tell you, okay, this is what you would get. This is the score you would get if you were creating a profile. So that's what I mean simulating. It asks you if you have an IELTS test taken. Of course, even if you've not taken the IELTS test, you can just put there that you've taken the IELTS test and they are less than 2 years, and you assume scores, because scores will be given, you assume scores, and I always tell people go for the highest. So you're just saying, okay, I have this, with the notion that you want to get it, or you just want to see where you would stand if you are creating an actual profile.
What's the most challenging stage for you?
Having to learn French and to take the
Ooh,
test 3 times. At some point, I was losing my mind, especially when I didn't get the score I needed at the first trial. I was like, okay, it's your first time, you did well. Then the second time, when the feedback came back, I was not happy. I applied for a remark, and a remark is 70,000 naira. And
wow.
if it comes back negative, you lose your 70,000. So I applied for a remark and I was really hopeful. And it came back like, okay, nothing changed. I cried, Emanuela. It was one of the um, toughest points of the journey. I really cried. I lost my money. I don't know how I was able to muster up strength to go take the test a third time. So I would say the most challenging time would be when I learned French, and the period I took the French test.
How much time did it take you through the process before you arrived Canada?
Okay, for now, it's something because it's not something that one can really say now because of the way the immigration um, world is going now. You know, even in the UK, they have so many laws in place. Canada is coming up with so many laws and so many changes, and with the number of people who are looking at getting this thing. So I would say, but I know someone that used the healthcare route, and it only took the person 6 months to get all of these things done,
Okay.
while others it takes them more um, more time than that. So I would say it depends. Just if it's something you're really interested in, just start the process. But if you're looking at using the healthcare route or maybe any of the category-based drawers, or mostly the healthcare and the French route, I would say give yourself maybe 6 to 8 months, maybe 1 year, in case there is any um, like anything that would just come up, but just give yourself 1 year. But it could be less than that. From the time I got my invitation to apply, after all the stress and the delays and everything, it only took 1 month, 4 days for my application to be approved. However, I knew people that got invitation to apply the same time that I did, and their application lingered for like 6 months, 5 months, 7 months. So it's like it varies. I would just say give yourself some time.
Okay, you talked about evaluation of documents. So, what are these documents to be evaluated?
Be your educational credentials, like what you studied in school. If you have two certificates, I would always ask people to evaluate those two certificates. Maybe you did like a diploma, 1 year diploma before you gain admission into the university. Evaluate both. If you have a master's, you don't need to evaluate your BSc, just evaluate your master's because it gives you high points. If you have a PhD, evaluate your PhD. Then you also need to take a French test, and you also ensure that you have work experience. One of the NOCs that qualify for this program, NOC is job classification, like a code they use to classify jobs. Also ensure you have work experience and that you can get a reliable reference, because referencing is really good. Then also your proof of fund, they need you to have proof of fund. They have a certain amount for each family member, and as the number of your family increase, so also does the proof of fund requires for this person's increase in, it goes up to if one wants to know what the proof of fund currently is for the number of family as against of the number of people they have in the family, all this information are available online. Just Google it, proof of fund for Canadian immigration, and you get it. I think this just basically the necessary things, like the most important things that one will need for this journey.
Okay, so you need to evaluate your educational credentials. You need to have your proof of French proficiency by taking the French test. What French test exactly can one write in order to be ready for this process?
Okay, so you can take the test and the TEF, which is the test d'évaluation de français, and you can also take the TCF, which is the test d'évaluation de français. Either of the two, the score you need is B2. You need a B2 in all the competencies. And when I mean B2, I mean a high B2, because sometimes, like the very first test I took, I got B2 all round for my listening comprehension the oral was a low B2. That was what brought me down. So just a high B2 for all the competencies we do. And also for IELTS, just try you max out your IELTS. You get as the highest scores as possible for all the competencies.
Writing your IELTS test, writing your French test, and you applied. You had your ITA. So how long before your visa arrived and before you moved to Canada?
Okay, so after my ITA and my school, it took 1 month 4 days for my application to be approved. Then I sent my passport in, and in about 1 month too, I got my passport back, because there are some places you send your passport to for stamping and it will be back in 2 weeks. For mine, I didn't pay extra money, so I got my passport back in about 1 month. And also remember that once you submit your application, there's an application fee you need to pay and a biometric fee you need to pay too.
Okay, can you move with your family after you must have gotten your ITA?
Of course, if you have a family and you're going through the express entry route, you put everyone together. When you're traveling, you travel with them.
So is there like a caveat when it comes to connecting or linking that up with the proof of funds amount you need to have?
Of course, the number of
Push it
the
up.
number of persons in the family increases, so also does the proof of fund increase. Yeah.
Okay, so to wrap up all of this here, what are your final words to anyone looking into following or pulling through this process to actually be successful just the way you went through this process?
Okay, one final word I would say is, recently it's really been a hassle, like tough, the process, because of the changes in the immigration world and all of that. And I would say if you are in any of the categories I mentioned during the course of this video, I would say take advantage of it, especially the healthcare, or if you're bilingual, take good advantage of it, because you have something there. And if you want to start, start as soon as possible, because delay is dangerous.
How can people reach you for further guidance aside from what they get from this video?
Okay, they can just go to my YouTube channel. I have a YouTube channel where I talk about all of these things. I don't help people do, I'm not an immigration consultant, so I always tell people it's a DIY process. All the information I share,
Disclaimer.
yeah, please. All the information I share, I made research, like great research. My YouTube channel, you get more information, greater in Moitia. And they have questions, they can reach out to me on Instagram or via email. Please be polite. I don't answer, even if I don't answer early enough, but I always try to answer, especially during the weekends. Yeah.
Final question. All right. So for people that are immigrating, just following through the process, is it possible to get a job immediately you arrive Canada?
I don't know. One HR person told me that you sometimes getting a job also requires the favor of God. I'm a religious person, so it depends. There are some people that got a job before they land. There are some people that came here and months living here, they've not gotten a job. There are some people that came here and they got a job immediately they landed. I got a job before I landed. So I would say it depends. It depends on the career path. It depends on the field. It also depends. But one thing I would say, just come here and things will work well. The most important thing is that you have some money, which is a proof of fund that is required to keep you going if in the eventuality that you don't get a job when you land here.
All right. Thank you very much, great. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have further questions that you can't get from this video, please move to her channel and send her a DM on her Instagram. Probably she'll reply when she is free.
And so I hope you found this video useful. Share this video with your family, friends, loved ones, anyone that is interested, and anyone even in their 30s or above that wish to move to Canada with their family. And stay tuned on this channel by turn on your post notification to be the first to know when I upload useful content like this one that you have just watched. If you have any questions, do leave it in the comment section. All links shared or discussed in this video will be in the video description. Thanks for watching and see you in my next